Hello and welcome to edumate.tv. I'm CHETAN SHARMA. We learn to live and live to learn in what has turned out to be an unprecedented situation, an unprecedented pandemic, with history being written across the geography of Mother Earth, and a minor virus has created a major catastrophe, making each and every one of us rewind, reset, rethink, reboot, reformat before we rebuild a new future. The challenges are aplenty, but solutions are also there. And what's more important is that the challenges and crisis throws open opportunities. But it's only for the wise to take them. That's why we say in the field of education particularly, the new normal will be led by those who have a sense of wisdom. Wisdom to learn from the past, knowledge and experience, and wisdom to be flexible, to embrace and evolve with the future. And that's why we have our WISE Chancellor. And today we have one of the wisest of them all, Dr. Vikram Singh of NIU, Noida, is joining us in our studios. What a pleasure to have you with us, Dr. Singh. You've been a former very celebrated police officer from UP at the helm of affairs there, and now you're heading education, diverse teams, but both require one thing in commonality, and that's discipline. What's your take, Dr. Singh?
Thank you so much, Mr. CHETAN SHARMA. Words of profound wisdom from you, and I couldn't agree with you more. Yes, indeed, the heritage of the past must come in handy with a futuristic outlook, and of course, he would be successful, she would be successful, who puts technology to the best advantage today, because this pandemic is not going to be short-lived. As far as I can see, it's going to be with us for the foreseeable future, and the earlier we get used to recast, reboot, reorient, and readjust ourselves, the better for all of us. And I think all of us need to chip in and put in our best foot forward.
Talk us through your challenges. Have they been peculiar for many? And more important, what have been your unique solutions you've undertaken to overcome those challenges during the COVID environment?
I would say it has been a journey of great learning, not only for me, but for all of us. What we thought was a distinct possibility was online classes was something from Timbuktu. We always talked of it, but never thought that we have to be implementing it 100% ourselves. Because online classes have a problem of their own, like the hardware-software compatibility, the hands-on, the digital literacy, and also the discomfort that any technology has to offer. Now, when we started, we probably asked the students, please try. More than the students, it was more difficult for us to orient and change the mindset of our faculty also. I have no hesitation in saying that any faculty who is more than 40 years of age took some time to adjust. But the satisfaction is there that everybody, both the students and the faculty, took it like a duck takes to water, and now there is no looking back. But again, if I would say, what are the biggest gimmicks, the biggest hiccups? One, the technology, the broadband connectivity, the hardware and the software compatibility, the availability or the non-availability of smartphone with students who are not well off, who do not have deep pockets. They are practical concern which we need to address, whether they pool in to get the laptops, whether they pool in to get the tablets, but something has to be done, and the university cannot just wash its hands off the thing. Then restructuring the syllabus and the curriculum so as to cater to the online teaching, and also the examination that is online. Everything has to be recast, but I'm happy to say our examinations, final examinations are over, and we have come out, I would say, with flying colors, that we've been able to execute what was something like absolutely impossible even 30 days ago.
You know, thank you for highlighting those challenges, which have been few and far between, particularly in the implementation or the changes of teaching patterns. But that's not the only change. There's a lot of change that's happening in the employability patterns, in the career option patterns. And education, particularly at the higher education level, needs to cater to be relevant to that, needs to be flexible towards that, needs to inculcate the holistic trends that are required for that, needs to inculcate the interdisciplinary mechanisms to be able to leverage that. So what is NIU doing in that front?
I wish I had the option of saying, I choose not to answer your question, because this is a very disconcerting question, and the answer would be even more disconcerting. In the first place, we always had a problem of making our students industry ready. If that was not bad enough, this entire COVID-19 environment and the ecosystem has created where the hands-on experience, creating foot soldiers, practical experience, that has taken a backseat, because that hands-on experience, especially when it comes to engineering, especially when it comes to technical subjects, the science subjects, where hands-on experience is the bottom line. If that is missing, then like stale coffee, all the ingredients are there, but the flavor is missing. How do we do that to make our students industry ready and ensure that they have the conceptual power? But happily, there is another thing that has come, the simulation exercises. The simulation exercises, as also the apps that have come, the 3D animations, all very good. I give you the simple example of an internal combustion engine. I can explain everything, all the various strokes, all the various input and output of gases, but it is, at the end of the day, it is a simulation, it's a 3D animation, and if the person has not really put his hands on an internal combustion engine, it does not work out at all. Therefore, the student will have to have a practical. When that practical will happen, when that ultimate, the sine qua non and the basic ingredient of being industry ready will be happen, I wish I had an answer to that, because practicals, I would have to ask my students to come to the university. I have to have the laboratory ready. I'll have to have the staff and my faculty ready. And for that, I have to ensure their safety, security, and basic standards of hygiene. Until the time I'm not ready in a scale of 1 to 10 out of 10, I will not get any faculty or student inside the laboratory. Mr. Chetan, I wish I could get your ideas on that. What can we do to ensure, because if the hands-on experience is not there, the practical is not there, the concepts are not there. Simulation, after all, is simulation. It cannot be a substitute of hands-on experience.
Well, I think, just to try to address your challenge and what I've imbibed from conversations of many like you, is to try and as far as possible propagate the hybrid and the blended learning, and limit certain parts of the learning to the future when actually you will be able to implement it. So a bit of patience to allow for time to pass and perhaps some solutions to evolve for you able to open up every labs. But till then, you can try and do as much through a 3D mechanism as possible. Perhaps that's the only answer to this. But you used the word twice. That's disconcerting, and that seems to be the sentiment echoed across the edu-sphere. The edu-sphere, which involves the students, the parents, the teachers, vice chancellors like yourself, educrats, edupreneurs. Many each of them, seem to be in a state of flux. There's confusion, there's ambiguity, and a lot of that is also emanating from the government. Now, we may be required to be sensitive with good reason to them, simply because the unprecedented is also being met by them, not just by us. But that having been said, when we hear conflicting voices between the central government and the state government, and disparaging voices, all of them which are not in consonance. In fact, there's a lot of dissonance when it comes to scrapping of examinations, or the forceful introduction of online education, or the change of the fee structure, or the change of the curriculum. It throws open a potpourri of words, which set us back a little bit. I mean, the last thing we need, Dr. Vikram Singh, in a pandemic is confusion. We need consistency, come what may. As you would have, of course, learned in the forces, you need to be consistent in your approach. It's not necessary that you're going to get it right, but you've got to take certain risks. So what have been your learnings from the governance and the policy part of it? Because perhaps most people think that this was the best opportunity for a radical change in India's education policy.
Mr. Sharma, we still have not missed out on the opportunity. To the contrary, I would say we have generally succeeded in overcoming the challenge and taken this challenge very, very seriously and coming out successfully. But I would rather, if I had a wish list, I would say, please give orders that are intelligible and not vague. Orders that are practical and not impractical. Orders given by those who know the long-term consequences of implementing these orders, and also how far and how quickly they can be translated into action, and also if there is a roadblock or there is a major hurdle, how do we address them? There should be a mechanism to address the FAQs in the government also, that if we have a question, if we have a query, we do not end up speaking into a wall of silence or into a well of silence, and there should be some response from the government to address our legitimate queries. As far as fees are concerned, you said on one part, there's the fees. It can be delayed, it can be staggered, it can certainly not be washed away or written off. The government can do it, but there is no way that a private university can write off all the fees. It can delay, it can stagger first. Because the salaries have to be given in time, the dues have to be paid, the electricity bill, and all the bills will have to be paid in time. And if the fees are not coming, I would like to be advised on how do we run the university in the absence of fees. Because online classes are going on, the expenditure is going on, the resources are being purchased, everything, expenditure part, there is absolutely no decline or decrease in expenditure. But if we were to decimate the income part, I don't see any educational university in the private sector would be very viable.
It's important that you brought out the word FAQs. I'd like that to be preceded by an SOP as well. If you have an SOP which precedes an FAQ, it makes the FAQ far more insightful and refined. So thank you for bringing that up. Very important. Also, thank you for suggesting the need for actually professionalism in policy making, because that is what's going to make it more ground up and more realistic and more practical. Very valid inputs from your end. Let's talk about some other validation. And the reason why I brought up this beautiful experience now, an opportunity for our students to choose multidisciplinary curriculums and courses, is that they can experiment with the entire variety of their passion as well as their profession. And you're a signature in yourself, because you've changed tact, changed profession, and become an educationist. But you started out with a very different career. As I mentioned earlier, that the commonality I see between students and teachers rather, and cops, if I can use the word, is discipline or enforcing of it. And perhaps that's one of the things that came earlier to you. But I was more intrigued because you've had a fascinating career, absolutely. At the helm of being with the police in Uttar Pradesh is certainly not a mean achievement and a difficult job. And you've had your tryst with online in education, but you also would have had your tryst with online in terms of cyber crime. So talk us through those experiences and similarities and learnings.
Mr. CHETAN SHARMA, my passion has been teaching, and before joining the police, I used to teach at the Allahabad University. And it was it's a different matter that I joined the IPS also. But the fact remains that I think this online tutorial and online classes are a blessing. The student is at liberty to take classes, learn at his own leisure, at his own pace, and at his own timing. This is one luxury which any student, any serious-minded student would love to always have. As a police officer, I used to be online classes with very many IITs and American universities. I would study from 11 at night to say 1 in the morning. And that was my timing. So this is a blessing. And the questions I would put to my instructor or my teacher, they would be addressed the next day. I could, if there were any conceptual barriers, I would put those to my teacher and they would be addressed after 24 hours. Feedback and feed ahead. There was a system of feedback. How did you like the tutorial? That was the feedback. A feed ahead, you address them and then make that, this is what I would like to understand. And the instructor would take pains to come out with yes and customize the tutorial for me. Also, it is an opportunity, and my appeal to teachers, faculty, and the students is make the most of this opportunity. Your timing, your leisure, your questions, your queries will be addressed. And if there are anything that still remain unresolved, take the time that whenever we meet face to face, that part of hand-holding will come now.
The other clear-cut voice and a unanimous voice and a unanimous trend that's developing in the world of education, Dr. Singh, is the need to shift very categorically and clearly from rote learning and theoretical knowledge to outcome-based knowledge, outcome-based education, and employability. These are the words that have been coming out to the fore, and also a holistic 360-degree character-building education. What are you doing in NIU on that front?
We lay special emphasis on character building, and we ensure we do our very best, run the extra mile to make, as a raw student who enters the university, when she leaves the campus, she is a person of steel. Because patriotism, character building, because every man and woman of character is a true wealth of a nation, we strongly subscribe to it. If the student is very well read, very articulate, yet is a person of straw, ultimately, at the end of the day, education has been meaningless and the teachers have failed. As they say in the army, there are no bad soldiers, there are only bad generals. Similarly, I don't say there is a single bad student. If we have not been able to shape our students, bring them up, men and women who are equal to the task, employability to the job, and yes, wherever they go, they say, yes, here is a person who is outstanding and much, much taller than his or her competitors, I think I would not have done my duty. We invest on our students, we invest at a personal level, and the process of hand-holding and mentorship goes for a lifetime.
That is exactly the kind of leadership this country needs today, and particularly at its education level. So I really salute you for what you say, Dr. Singh. It's been, in several ways, the way you've conducted yourself, not just in this interview, but also as I study your entire entire career span. It's been illustrious, it's been inspiring, to say the least. Now, I'd like you to use that to mentor us. We'd like to learn from you. We'd like suggestions and advice from you as a student, as a parent, as a teacher, and as a fellow Vice Chancellor. What would be your advice to these four factions of the education ecosystem?
There are no easy way to success except hard work. Pain, sacrifice, and effort are the three ingredients of success. And there are no free lunches in life. And anything that tempts you, what is not in public good, what to talk of not doing it, don't even look that way. The nation needs men and women who are absolute 24 karat gold. Even 22 karat gold is not good enough. Unimpeachable integrity, total commitment to learning, and a commitment to patriotism, and the proud privilege to serve the poor people, your fellow citizens. That is an honor that God has given you. It has not been given to very many, it has been given to you. Seize this opportunity, serve the nation, and do us proud, do India proud. Don't fail the country.
In so many ways, you've inspired us, and you are very well worthy of being our Wise Chancellor. Thank you for talking to us.
This is one battle which cannot be fought alone. This is one battle that has to be fought collectively, and everybody has to put her best foot forward, and the collective wisdom of the teacher, the taught, the university, the infrastructure, the stakeholders, the employers, the employed, everybody has to chip in with a sense of purpose. And the sense of purpose is nation building, self-improvement, constant improvement and constant innovation, and to be a lifelong learner. EduMate TV is a blessing, and what it is doing to society, I salute EduMate for that. And it has been a process of learning for me to be interacting with EduMate today, yesterday, and hopefully tomorrow and always. India needs more platforms like EduMate and yours. All the very best. You are doing a fantastic job, Mr. Chetan Sharma.